All right, y'all. I got to address something. This is for all you naysayers and people that say I'm reaching and say I'm lying and all this stuff about this footage. Okay? I'm going to address all the complaints from the grass to the date of the footage to a lot of the negative comments I'm getting out there saying I'm full of crap. The witness recently did an interview on a podcast from a local gentleman, the only gentleman that they let in the backyard to see the scene. During the podcast, the witness that made the call, about 2 weeks after the incident, the police came back to his house. And they stated that they wanted to set up perimeter cameras for their protection. Their protection, okay, from paparazzi and possible enthusiasts that wanted to get a look at where this UFO crash landed. We all know that's not why they did it. And that also should tell you the levels of government that are working with this whole thing, because the local cops, they're not going to come up with the idea that something may return to the scene of the crash, right? That's a pretty good thought. That's not an average person thought. That's why they set up the cameras. The thought that maybe, possibly, something would return to the scene of the crash. And lo and behold. Then in the interview, he says the cops came back around a week later. So 2 weeks after the crash, 5/19. A week later, 5/26. Because the cameras were faulty. Okay? Faulty. No, they knew they had this footage. Plain and simple. And as far as all you haters on the grass, this is some of the original footage from when the mom brought her camera back and recorded the equipment when the aliens or extraterrestrials were on them. What's that? What's that? What's that? Is that grass? Are those plants by the fence? Is that more grass? Quiet. And as far as the creature being 8 to 10 foot tall, that thing is hunched over. I'll guarantee it's at least 7 foot tall. And who's to say? One person, I know it may sound comical, but one person said that might not have been one of the main aliens. He might have been with them and escaped or ran away. Could have been one of their pets for all we know. You don't know. Key words, you don't know. Do the research. I see all the comments. I get all the messages. I don't lie. Also, as far as the UFO crash landing, who's to say it crash landed? Could that be maybe why there isn't any UFO pictures or any UFO footage? And I assure you there probably is. But y'all, if you know anything about anything when it comes to this stuff, there's this group called the Men in Black that really don't allow them to share any information, video, or the like with the public. This was probably leaked, all right? Probably by the police officers involved. And that's possibly why there was only a little ring out back. Because they crash landed, they had to do some maintenance. This has been written about before. A group of aliens that have landed just to do simple maintenance on their craft and then take back off. That's why they chose that house, because it had a fenced-in backyard. It was the perfect cover to take a quick landing, do some maintenance, and take back off. You know what I'm saying? You guys, think of the scenarios. It's not always cut and dry. It's not always perfect to what you believe it might be. And lastly, if you were paying any attention to the dialogue in my last video of the 911 call, he says, big eyes. And then he hesitates and he goes, tiny eyes. And dude, he was panicking. Go back and listen to it. After he says big eyes, for just a split second, he says tiny eyes. And then he just goes into, they're not human. I just know that. So, end of the day, he did say tiny eyes. I'm not trying to seem overly frustrated, but comments like, oh, you used to slap Night God, now you're reaching all the time and stuff like that. Bottom line, my channel doesn't have limits. If you have limits in your mind or your beliefs of what could possibly be, then this may not be the place for you. Because if you knew what I knew, you would know there are no limits. Really. What's real is oftentimes stranger than fiction. Don't forget it. To the rest of y'all, I love you. Keep on keeping on. Stay tuned. I'll always keep you in the loop to the best of my knowledge. I will never steer you in the wrong or tell you something wrong on purpose. I will never post content that I know is absolute bullshit. Always remember that. Also, in his podcast interview, he states there were footprints all over running around the craft that were up to 16 inches long. But of course, when asked, do you have any pictures of this? He kind of seemed a little hesitant and was like, no, I can't. No, basically, I know there was no pictures. He can't share them. He's being advised not to share them. There's a good chance they have more better footage. He shared what he could. The government doesn't just let this stuff go out like nothing. We're lucky we got what we got. Do you guys, the people that are hating, you don't know nothing about the system if you think your comments are accurate. They're not. If you call yourself an enthusiast, you already know all that I'm telling you. If you didn't know what I'm telling you, then you need to study up. And at the end of the day, it comes out that this is spoof, it's wrong, then so be it. I was wrong, and I am sorry for that. But I'm always going to share with you guys what I find, what I deem somewhat credible. I'm sorry, but that's not CGI. If you think it's CGI, you're full of crap. It's not CGI. Whether it was for sure the Las Vegas incident, I can't say 100%. Really, nobody can. But that creature is real. And you want to know how I have an idea that it's real? If you take the time and go read all my comments, you'll see eyewitness statements. One gentleman's grandfather, 40 years ago, drew this exact same creature that he spotted out in the woods behind his house. A number of them. Another woman had an experience where one came up to her, seemed curious, scared the living hell out of her. It ran off. That's all the stuff you don't see that I see, because I read all my comments. I read pretty much all my comments, and I see all my messages on Facebook as well. So I do my due diligence, y'all. Quit challenging me. And I will be trying to obtain one of those drawings that this gentleman's grandpa drew 40 years ago to reference it and compare and contrast. Because I like to try and do my research. And lastly, if it comes out there's an article that debunks this, let's not try and just take that for face value, please. Of course they're going to debunk it. They debunk everything that's real. I mean, at the end of the day, come on. We should know this by now. Grass. I am out.